While lawmakers met inside, building trades members celebrated on the steps of the Capitol to commemorate the largest project labor agreement in state history, an expansion of the Mall of America. The project labor agreement establishes wages, benefits, jurisdictions, and other working conditions for the proposed $1.9 billion project, which will double the size of the mall. Some 7,000 people will work on the expansion, earning $800 million in wages over 3 years. In return, unions guarantee no work stoppages.
They're guaranteed to be no delays, which are probably the most costly thing on a project, especially when you get something the size of this nature. And it's important because it provides a lot of work for building trades members. There is also a commitment by the mall to utilize local suppliers. 85% of materials used on Phase 1 were purchased from Minnesota supply houses. That will equate to nearly $980 million in materials purchased from local companies. We've also discussed implementing the Building Trades Helmets to Hard Hats program on this project to connect National Guard, Reserve, and transitioning active duty military members with quality career training and employment opportunities within the building and construction industry. Going to give a little something back to the folks that are serving our country.
The agreement is the latest example of the long-term partnership between the Mall of America and building trades unions, going back to the original construction of the mall.
Our relationship goes back over 20 years, and we owe a lot to the building trades, and we value this partnership very highly. When we first built the mall, as Dave mentioned, we signed a record-breaking project labor agreement, which provided thousands of construction jobs at a time of economic slowdown and allowed us to bring the project in on time, under budget, and with the highest quality craftsmanship available. That strong agreement and working relationship between the mall and the building trades that formally began in 1985 has continued over the last 15 years informally. In that time, we've had more than $300 million worth of ongoing construction projects, everything from retail expansions to tenant turnovers to mall office expansions and common area renovations. It continues today. We've got people at the building trades out at the mall as we speak, building Moose Mountain miniature golf course. It'll continue this year with millions of dollars worth of renovation that's going to happen in our park with Nickelodeon. And we have a continued relationship with the building trades. We've had it long after Phase 1 was complete. Not because we have any political pressure to do so, but because we think it makes good business sense for Mall of America. We believe the efficiencies created by the building trades have saved the mall and its tenants millions of dollars and has provided the highest product available. And there's more to come. As we look to the future, we want to formalize this relationship and put in writing what we've worked so hard to build over the last 20 years. This labor agreement is a symbol of how our relationship has been expanded and extended. It's also a symbol of quality work, high standards, and jobs.
This is one of the great relationships that was started out on the right foot and continued to march along the path lockstep, hand in hand, and to get that job done and to keep the mall a reputable, clean, safe place that it is today. The relationship is there, and I think it's a real model for labor and management cooperation throughout, could be and should be emulated throughout the country.
Building trades leaders say the project labor agreement guarantees that construction jobs at the mall will pay area wages and benefits and will support the ability of local workers to provide a decent living for themselves and their families. To enable the expansion, the mall requested $181 million in funding from the state legislature, but as the session ended, it appeared that provision was in the tax bill that Governor Pawlenty said he would veto. Senator Tom Bach, however, calls the mall project a wise investment for the state.
Well, I mean, looking out over the crowd, looks like well over 500 people. And when I asked the question, how many are unemployed, it looked to me like at least half the hands went up. And that really is what this is about, is trying to put people to work. You know, these people want to work, but they can only work when somebody's building something. And I think it's important if the state can provide some incentives and put 7,000 people to work, I think that's good public policy. And it's important to more than just you that are going to have an opportunity to work on this project and provide for the needs of your family. This project is important to the state of Minnesota. Not only because of the tax revenue that it'll generate that ultimately comes back here to the Capitol, and We turn around and spend it on schools and on transportation, on people that can't provide for themselves, and on early childhood. But it's important for another reason, one that I understand because I run an apprenticeship committee for the Carpenters Union on the range. You know, a whole lot of the people who work in the building trades today are my age. And before very long, they're going to be retiring. And there are not enough young people coming in to fill those jobs. And you know, these jobs, these construction jobs, aren't the kind of jobs that are going to be outsourced to India or China or somewhere else overseas. We've got to grow these jobs in this state from our citizens. And a big project like this is important because, you know, with 7,000 people employed, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them are going to be apprentices. Apprentices that are learning a trade. And someday we'll become journeymen and women in the building trades, and we'll be building the next project after the mall is built. And I appreciate the mall's willingness to enter into a project labor agreement to make sure that we show the public that in Minnesota, labor and management can work together and build this state, move the state forward.
We in the state of Minnesota have almost 9,000 building trades apprentices in training in one year or another of their program. And that is an incredible statistic. It shows the strength of trade unionism and one of the real reasons why the mall and other industries are committed to that way of doing business. It's a good way to do business. Use good people, get it done on time, get it done on budget, use that project as a learning project for the next one to advance careers in the economy.